All right, looks like we are live, or I am live anyway. It is Wednesday night. It is 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And tonight, it is time for Food Addiction, Fair and Firm, or Firm and Fair, however you prefer to call it. But it is Food Addiction, Fair and Firm, because I am a fair and firm person. Actually, that is kind of my mantra and my motto in my therapy sessions. I'm going to be fair in that I'm going to be compassionate. I'm going to give you understanding and affirmation, but I will also be very firm because you are not paying me, if you are my client, to pat you on the back and tell you everything you're doing is wonderful. However, I do quite a bit of patting you on the back and telling you what you do is wonderful. But I also let you know if I think you're full of baloney at a particular time. But thank you for joining me tonight on Facebook Live. And remember that these Facebook Live videos are going to be turned into the Food Addiction Fair and Firm podcast in the very near future. All right, so food addiction is real. That's what the FAIR stands for. FIRM also stands for freedom is recovering mindfully. Freedom from addiction. Freedom from the chains, the boundaries, the small world mindset that is addiction. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sharing this with anybody you believe is struggling with food addiction or any addictions, because this information can apply to and is relevant to whatever kinds of addictions people are struggling with. My name is Connie Stapleton. For those of you who don't know me, I am a licensed psychologist. I currently live part of the week in Augusta, Georgia, and part of the week in the Atlanta, Georgia area. We are in the middle of transitioning, and I will probably continue to work in both cities for quite some time. Anyway, I'm very grateful for my work, very grateful to get to work with people like you who want help, who are working toward improving their lives, learning more about themselves, about the diseases of obesity and the disease of addiction. So welcome. I've been in recovery myself for the past 28 years, and I continue to learn and grow through all kinds of effort, through additional information from input from people like you and from very good friends, from sponsors, from mentors, from a lot of reading as well. So I invite you to join us tonight, and I invite you to immerse yourself in learning about recovery and healing from addictions while you're in the process also of healing from obesity. So tonight, what we're going to talk about primarily is one of the AA slogans that I think is extremely relevant to what we are doing. Along the journey in our 10 weeks, we've already met for 10 weeks, we've been talking about a lot of different things related to the disease of obesity, the disease of addiction. And one of the questions that I pose to you is in the form of a question that is actually an AA slogan. And that is, what lengths are you willing to go to? Let's talk about what that means and what they mean in the addiction and recovery worlds when they say, we're willing to go to any lengths. Think about for a minute your disease of obesity, right? Your disease of obesity has affected your life negatively in a number of different areas. It's most likely affected you physically. It's affected your relationships in some negative ways. It's affected your relationship with yourself in some negative ways, your self-esteem, your body image, your interactions with others, your willingness to put yourself out there in a number of different ways, your level of self-confidence. So your disease of obesity has interfered in your life in some pretty negative ways. If you have a food addiction in addition to the disease of obesity, and remember, these are different diseases, and if you have weight loss surgery in particular, that surgery helps treat the physiological aspects of obesity, not the psychological ones. But if you have a food addiction in addition to the disease of obesity, that food addiction, if not treated, will trump that surgery, and you will most likely regain some or all of the weight, or you will transfer that addiction to some other unhealthy coping skill. So we want to not only help you as you treat your disease of obesity, whether through weight loss surgery or any other means, as well as deal with this disease of addiction, because if you have the disease of addiction, you have to treat it simultaneously with the disease of obesity so that you can keep that weight off once you've lost it. All right. Another thing is it will make it a lot easier to lose that weight and to follow through with the behaviors that help keep that weight off if you treat the obesity, because as you treat your obesity, you're healing that relationship with yourself. As you treat the addiction, you're healing that relationship with yourself. And it's only by healing that relationship, by feeling better about who you are, that you will begin to treat yourself better. So, big question, directly, very firm. What lengths are you willing to go to not only treat your obesity, but also to treat your addiction? And for many of you, depending on where you are on the continuum of obesity and where you are on the continuum of addiction, your life may be at stake, literally. You know, obesity is at the center of very many physiological comorbid diseases. You know them: heart problems, high blood pressure, diabetes, gout, many kinds of cancers, pulmonary issues. And we talked about this in one of the earlier episodes, that the obituaries don't say so-and-so died of obesity. They say so-and-so died of a heart attack. So-and-so died of a stroke. But if we were to be honest, the underlying physiological condition, the disease that killed the person, may be untreated obesity. The same is true with a lot of addictions. We don't say so-and-so died of alcoholism. We say they were in a car accident. A lot of similarities, or they died of heart disease, when really it may have been addiction, food addiction, or alcoholism, or cocaine addiction, and we say they died of a heart attack. So addiction and obesity both kill a lot of people. So your life may truly be at stake. So what lengths are you willing to go to heal from these diseases? That's a tough question, because we say we want to lose weight. We say we want to heal from the addiction. And yet, we've talked about in previous episodes as well, the things that keep us a little standoffish, keep us a little hesitant, the resistances that we have to actually doing what it takes to heal from these diseases. We say things like, well, I'm trying. Well, you know how I feel about the word trying. Trying is dying. You're either doing it or you're not doing it. And there are some pretty firm realities about healing from both the disease of obesity and the disease of addiction. And you know what some of those things are. You have to change what you're eating. You have to move your body. You have to accept certain things about your physiology when you're dealing with both diseases. For example, the first thing you have to accept is the reality that you have the disease. A lot of people minimize or deny, or, kind of try to work their way around the block. But the reality is, you might need to say, I have the disease of obesity. I have the disease of addiction. I am a food addict. Because unless you acknowledge it, Unless you become aware, make it real, and accept it, then it's going to be real hard to treat it. So once you get to that point, what lengths are you willing to go to treat these diseases? Let me give you some examples from some people I've known. So a particular person whose name is Connie, that Connie would be me, once upon a time went to treatment to treat her addictions. And part of the problems in her life, part of the ways her addictions were manifest and caused problems in her life were in relation to her work situation, because her work provided all kinds of party situations. Not a good place for an alcoholic who wants to be a recovering alcoholic. So one of the very difficult decisions that I had to make, along with my husband, who was my support person, one of the most important support people that I have had in my 28 years of recovery and my healing from addiction, was that I needed to quit this job. Well, this job had a very lucrative income. And we had only maybe a year or so prior to that time purchased a house that was going to be above our financial means if I were to quit that job. Well, together we decided that this was our life we were talking about. This meant our family staying together. This meant a greater possibility that I would remain clean and sober, away from that group of people, right? You have to change your playgrounds and your playmates. And so we made the decision together to sell our house, because I made the decision to quit that job. Yes, I found another job, but it didn't pay as well. And without the prior job, we couldn't afford the house we had purchased only a year earlier. So we made tremendous sacrifices. We were willing to go to some pretty extreme lengths because it was our family, it was our marriage, it was my life at stake. So what lengths are you willing to go to if you suffer from food addiction? Are you willing? Let's back up for a minute, right? Remember early on, one of the earlier episodes, we talked about meaningful matters, right? What lengths are you willing to go to for what? For what? What is it you're going to these lengths for, right? That's why we have to have our roadmap, our values, our meaningful matters. What matters to you the most in terms of your physical health? Hopefully, it's living at a weight that is healthy enough for your body to prevent or rid yourself or be in remission from the comorbidities associated with the disease of obesity that you have suffered from previously, and also to have a better quality of life, be able to go on the rides, be able to go on an airplane more comfortably, be able to travel more comfortably, be able to speak in public more comfortably, whatever it is in your social life, feeling more comfortable going to your kids' events or your spouse's events or your own work events or being with your friends or your family. What are you doing this for? What is meaningful enough for you to go to these lengths? So with food addiction, what are the lengths you might have to go to? You might have to go to the lengths of giving up a particular food, your trigger foods, right? You know what they are. Some of you have most of you most likely, have experimented with, you've tried to overcome this by cutting back on sweets, by cutting back on sugar, by cutting back on simple carbs. How's that worked for you, right? It's like when I work with alcoholics and they're like, well, I can quit anytime I want. I'm like, well, then go for it, right? It's easier for me to go with the current than to fight against it and say, oh, no, you must quit altogether. Let's do it your way. Quit drinking if you can quit anytime you want. Well, that usually lasts for a short period of time. I hear this a lot from food addicts as well, because they'll say to me, you know I can do this. This is very true, especially when we're talking about weight loss surgery. And a lot of people, whether you've had weight loss surgery or not, have done the yo-yo dieting, right? You lose the weight, you gain it back. You lose the weight, you gain it back. And when you lose the weight, it's time for the gain it back cycle of the game. Well, that's not healing from addiction. That's not healing from recovery. And yet people will say to me, I can give up carbs. I've done it before. So during the pre-surgical evaluation, I'm like, when life got stressful, you turned back to your sugary treats, or you went back to going to the fast food places, or life got busy and you don't have time to exercise and you don't have time to meal prep, and all these reasons. Well, I know I can do it because I've done it before for a short time. You've done it for a short time. If you're talking about healing from addiction, which has powerful brain chemistry interactions, powerful compulsions, powerful cravings, how are you going to stick to that? What lengths are you willing to go to give up sugar altogether? What lengths are you willing to go to give up simple carbs? Well, here are some of the objections I get. Well, I have to have snacks in the house because I have kids. Well, what lengths are you willing to go to heal from your addiction? Are you willing not to have the snacky foods in the house, the sugary treats, the little Debbie cakes, or the cookies, or the ice cream, or the popsicles, or the Pop-Tarts, or the potato chips, or the whatever it is? Are you willing? Because the reality is, those kids of yours, if they're out in the real world at all, they will have plenty of opportunities to get those treats elsewhere. So you don't have to have them in your home. So that will never fly as an excuse for me or with me. That's where my fairness or my firmness comes in my therapy. I'm like, please, you do not have to have that in your home for your children or your spouse. Now, you can't control your spouse, right? So they may choose to have it in the house, and you can ask them. You can ask them, but you can't control them. But if they insist on eating that in front of you, guess what? What lengths are you willing to go to? Are you willing to go to another room while they're eating that? Are you willing to go for a walk until they're done eating that? What lengths are you willing to go to? Because guess what? It isn't going to happen by itself. Nobody can do this for you. This isn't easy. But what lengths are you willing to go to? Are you willing to do drastic measures such as quit a job, sell a home, pay out of pocket for therapy? We were so poor. I mean to tell you, we were young, we were poor. I had not gone back to school yet. My husband had a decent job, but there were 5 of us. We didn't have any extra money, and our insurance did not cover therapy. We were talking about our marriage. Our marriage was meaningful to us. The health of our marriage mattered to us. We paid cash. We didn't have the cash. We went on a payment plan, and we paid that off for years. But it was worth it. We were talking about our lives. We were talking about our marriage. What lengths are you? I can't afford healthy food. I don't even want to hear it. It is true that there are some people who can barely afford unhealthy food, much less healthy food. However, the reality is that 98% of the people that I work with have cell phone plans, have Netflix, have pretty fancy handbags, have designer shoes, we pay for what we want. So while I am acknowledging that there are some people who truly can barely afford to buy food, the majority of us are going to find the money for what we want. So I really don't want to hear about it costs more to eat healthy. Maybe it does. There are some people who have different ideas about that, especially if you're a person who goes out to eat fast food all of the time. And during your interview, you tell me you eat out twice a day at fast food, and then 10 minutes later come back and say it's too expensive to eat healthy at home. I'm going to be a little firm with you at that. What lengths are you willing to go to get what you say you want? Because words are easy, right? One of the little memes that I've seen floating around. Oh, hello, my friends. So many of you. Hello. Oh, I love you guys. Anyway, I wish we could all just meet in a big room and, drink water. And just hold hands and hug and cry and laugh and, share the things that are hard and share what works for us. And, but this is the next best thing, right? Okay, so what lengths are you willing to go to? Think about the excuses that you make. What are they? What are your excuses? I don't have time. Oh my goodness, I don't have time to exercise. You know what? An amazing coping skill to deal with both diseases, obesity and addiction, is exercise. Because associated with both diseases, obesity and addiction, is stress, right? Stress is one of the triggers for eating and indulging in whatever our addictive behaviors or substances are. So you don't have time to exercise. People tell me I'm going to have to find time. Well, I don't know how hard you're looking, but here's the deal, friends. You're going to have to make time. You're going to have to make time. It's not going to go up and say, hey, you've been looking for me? Hello, you found me? You're going to have to make time. And if you've got a job and you've got children and you've got a husband and you're in school, I know you are one busy human being. Make time for exercise. Maybe that time is 10 minutes at the office. Go out for the smoke break, even though you're not a smoker, and do squats with your friends who are smoking and say, you too could be doing this and improving your health instead of killing yourself. They're not going to like you much, but you could be playful about it. Make time for exercise. Make time for meal prep. And let me tell you something else. This is another one that slays me, right? No time to prepare food. Guess what? Especially if you've had weight loss surgery or if you're just trying to eat healthy. How much time does it take really to open a container of Greek yogurt? A lot less time than it does to sit at the drive-thru. How much time does it take to twist the lid off a protein shake? How much time does it take to open beef jerky and get all that scrumptious protein? I don't know. That didn't take any time at all, really, right? Make it work. Make it work. I have a wonderful woman that I know, and she says, you just make it work wherever you go. So if you go to the fast food drive-thru, you make it work there too. You buy the grilled nuggets or you buy the grilled sandwich and you throw away the bread. So if you want to throw away your money, rather than spending it on healthy food, then go to the drive-thru and get the fake burger and just eat the burger. That's fine with me. But don't complain about not having enough time. So tonight you're getting the very, very, very firm Dr. Stapleton, because if you want it, you're going to do what it takes to get it. And that's why I encourage you to use the 4 ACEs. Awareness. Yep, got this disease. Acceptance. Yep, I own it. Acknowledgement, or awareness, acceptance. I'm going to get them all, don't worry. Attitude. You know what? I don't have to like it, but I have to say I'm going to do what it takes. I'm going to go to whatever lengths I have to go to because I matter. And here's the problem with some of the addiction stuff, right? It's driven by a lot of shame, and shame says I'm not good enough. That's why you've got to change that attitude, change that stinking thinking, become accountable to other people, become accountable to your support group, become accountable to your own self, for God's sake, right? Be important enough to yourself. The C in the 4 ACEs is for commitment. Make that commitment 30,000 times a day if you have to. And then the big magic letter is the E, and that's effort, because without effort, you're not going to get any results. So it's up to you, right? If it's going to be, it's up to me. A little trite slogan for you there. Improvement begins with I. But you got to choose. This will not just come to you. Time will not create itself. Life will not be unbusy. I saw one of those memes. I started talking about it earlier. It's like your amount of effort, the amount of effort you put in really tells how badly you want something. Because you can say blah, 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 all day long how much you want something. But unless you're following that want up with action that gets the results you claim to want, you're not going to get those results. So, what lengths are you willing to go to? Are you willing to, oh my God, go to a 12-step meeting? Or go to a Celebrate Recovery meeting, or go to a Smart Recovery meeting? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to post every single day on the Food Addiction Fair and Firm group page? Are you willing to talk to Laura Preston? Are you willing to talk to Yvonne? Are you willing to talk to whoever your support group leaders are, to whoever your support group friends are? Are you willing to share your struggles? Are you willing to share your strength? Are you willing to put out whatever money it takes? Because I'm guessing you put out some money for some diets, right? So if that means going to therapy, if that means paying a nutritionist, if that means paying a personal trainer, then by God, do it. Do it. What are your meaningful matters? And what lengths are you willing to go to? One of the things you're willing to do is spend your time here with me. That's a commitment. That takes effort. And I appreciate it. Because what that says to me is you're saying to yourself, I'm worth this. So what's the next step you're willing to take? What is the next length you're willing to go to get what you say you want? If you're saying you want to live at a healthy weight and have a healthier, better quality of life by living at a healthy weight, and if you want to heal from food addiction and any other addictions you might be struggling with, are you willing to go to the length to address the things we've talked about in the last 2 weeks? Neglect, loss, abuse, hurt, sadness, fear, shame? Are you willing to do those things? Because without being willing to go to any length it takes to get the healing that you so long for, and I do believe you long for it, and if there's resistance, are you willing to go to whatever length it is to face those resistances so that you can move from this kind of a life where you have a very short view of the world and it's mainly focused on food and dieting and grams and numbers and blah, 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 to a world where you monitor your weight. It's a part of your life, but you enjoy all that life has to offer when you're not confined in an addiction or in obesity. I choose living fully. And I was willing to go to pretty extreme lengths to save my life, my family, my marriage, because every one of those things so worth it to me. And the joys that come from living in healing, in recovery from obesity and addictions, there are no words. There are no words. It's just amazing. There are struggles. Life is life, right? I run out of gas. Most people don't. I do. I get mad in traffic and whatever. Life is life, right? But it's a whole lot better life in recovery from addictions. So join me. Now next week, think about what lengths you're willing to go to get what you say you want. My goodness. It was good to be with you all tonight. Good to see you. Please share your experience, your strength, your hope with other people because they need what you're offering. And so do I. I get so much from a lot of your posts, a lot of your questions to me, a lot of your feedback to me. Keeps me going, right? All right. Have a good week. Make it a good week. Go to some extra lengths this week because as you do that, you're going to feel better about yourself. As you feel better about yourself, you treat yourself in better ways. So let me remind you as we get ready to close out tonight that I am your recovery conscience, right? Turn to the Facebook page and hear my voice. Go to YouTube. Go to my website. Listen to these videos. Listen to your friends. Listen to yourself. Listen to your support people. Listen to your mentors. Get a sponsor. Share with others because you'll hear yourself too. So, your health is your responsibility this day and every day. Choose wisely. Thanks for joining me tonight, guys. We will be in touch. Make it a good one.